Hello and welcome to Disembodied Screams, a channel diving into the link between horror and heavy metal music. With that said, let's get into the episode and some album information from. Didn't write down where this is from. This looks like Wikipedia, maybe. I think it's Wikipedia. Peace Sales, but who's buying? Album info says is the second. Yes, this week I can tell by the way it's written. It's Wikipedia. Is the second studio album by American thrash metal band Megadeth, released on September 25th, 1986 through Capitol Records. The project was originally handled by Combat Records, resulting in the original mix of the album being co-produced by Randy Burns. That makes sense why you see the Randy Burns mix on some of these streaming services and everything. He goes on to say Capitol Records then bought the rights to the album and hired another producer named Paul Lanny to mix it himself. The recording of the album was difficult for the band because of the ongoing drug issues the members had at the time. Drummer Gar Samuelson and guitarist Chris Poland were fired shortly after the album's promotional tour for drug abuse, making Peace Sales Samuelson's last Megadeth album. And, Megadeth is a revolving door. There's been I think Dave has mostly been the main one in that one. Everybody else is kind of in and out. But personnel on this album, Dave Mustaine, lead vocals and guitars. Dave Elfson, bass, backing vocals. Chris Poland, guitars. It says guitars, okay, I don't know what that means. It says guitars. Gar Samuelson on drums. And I still remember when Peace Sales dropped on Headbangers Ball in 86. As a teenager, I blew my mind. And I haven't stayed with Megadeth a lot throughout the years. I kind of went through Rust in Peace with them, and then I think I dropped off for a bit. But Peace Sales has always been one that's always been somewhere in my life. I don't think an album's ever left. I've always had that somewhere. So Peace Sales has always been a pretty big favorite of mine. I'm not sure if it's my favorite album because I haven't been through all their albums. But I will say Peace Sales is definitely towards the top because when it's the album you get for the very first time, it's always going to be the one that probably means the most to you. And I did buy this in 86 when it was brand new. All right, songs. Let's get into it. Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring, Peace Sales, Devil's Island, Good Morning Black Friday, Bad Omen, I Ain't Superstitious, My Last Words. And on these heavy metal horror episodes that I'm doing, I'm going to rate the songs based on their titles, and on a scale of 1 to 6, 1 being take it to the church and enjoy your Sunday service, and 6, take it down to the graveyard under the moonlight because it's very horrific. Probably don't take it to church. I'm giving it a 2. The songs really, Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring has horror vibes to it. Peace Sales, not so much. Devil's Island, I think, is about prison, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. It sounds very horrific, though. Devil's Island. Good Morning Black Friday, Bad Omen, I Ain't Superstitious, My Last Word. So, not completely horrific there with that one. Song titled Deep Dive, Good Morning Black Friday. And weird thing is, I've never really dove into the lyrics of this album. And in trying to find a song to deep dive, I discovered this was a freaking slasher movie right here. I could not believe it. I was like, what? I've been listening to this song for 40 some odd years or however long it's been. And 30 some odd years. That's about 40 now. 86 would be going on 40 next year, when in 2026. So yeah, about 40 years. So let's get into these lyrics, man. There are some pretty good lyrics. These are Cannibal Corpse style lyrics. Deviant defilers, you're next to be dead. I unleash my hammer with sadistic intent, pounding, surrounding, slamming through your head. Yeah. Their bodies convulse in agony and pain. I mangle their faces till no features remain. A blade for the butchering, I cut them to shreds. First take out the organs and cut off the head. The remains of flesh now sop under my feet. One more bloody massacre, the murder's complete. I seek to dismember a sadist fiend, and bloodbaths are my way of getting clean. I lurk in the alleys, wait for the kill. I have no remorse for the blood that I spill. A merciless butcher who lives underground. I'm out to destroy you, and I will cut you down. Yeah, I was really kind of shocked when I read those lyrics. I don't know. I've always just dug this song, but I've never really listened to the lyrics. And I'm like, wow, that's a slasher movie. You can pull those lyrics straight out of there and just cut them into a script and make a slasher movie out of it. Very Cannibal Corpse like. I mean, that reminds me of Hammer Smash Face when I read those lyrics. All right, album title. I'm also going to, rate the album title on a scale of 1 to 6. And we know what the scale is. 1 being peace and serenity and calm, and 6 being just a murderous rampage. That album title's a 1, folks. It's peace sells, but who's buying? There is no horror at all to be found in that title. Nothing, nada, zip. So it's a 1. And then I'm also going to rate the album cover on a scale of 1 to 6. And this one gets a 2. But Vic Rattlehead on that cover, he is the shining star. He's the horror star on this cover, is Vic Rattlehead. I mean, that's it. There's not really much more horror in that one, other than maybe the atomic nuclear wasteland behind him and the fighter jets. But really, Vic Rattlehead is really the only thing. He's got the cool looking goggles and the suit, and he's got those skeletal hands. And I always thought Vic was a very cool mascot. Up there with Murray from Dio and Eddie from Iron Maiden, just a really cool mascot. And he's the horror part. He's the reason why it got a 2. Without him, it probably would have gotten a 1. But anyways, I'm winding up the songs, the title, and the cover. And on a scale of 1 to 6, being gentle lamb to Satan's goat, basically. How horrific is this album? It's a 2. It's not very horrific. And I wrote a little blurb, the reason why, in case you're like, well, why'd you choose it? I'm like, well, it's not very horrific except for a couple of songs, but I personally wasn't expecting it to be horrific. I really just wanted to cover it because they announced their retirement back in, I think it was August of 2025. And I just wanted to celebrate this amazing band that I've seen in concert and that I've been listening to throughout the years, and that I found in the 80s when I was a kid. I was a really kind of unique metalhead in the 80s. I was like into the pop metal, the Def Leppards and the White Lions and the Warrants. Yes, I'm saying that on this podcast. Don't crucify me for that. But, and I still do enjoy that music. I love a good power ballad. Always will. But I was also Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax. Slayer scared me bad. I was a Catholic kid in the 80s, and Slayer scared me a lot. I didn't listen to much Slayer, but I listen to them now because I've kind of realized how religion likes to put you in a corner with certain things. And I'm like, you're not going to hell for listening to Slayer. Maybe if you do some of the stuff in their songs, you might. But you're not going to hell for listening to Slayer. But anyways, them, and then, it's a few other little bands beyond that. But I never really got into Dio and Maiden and the Priest, that kind of middle pocket. And I got them much later in life, which is a really strange way to look at it. But anyways, I just want to dive into Peace Sells because I want to celebrate this band who I've loved for a long time. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you have bands you like that have a horror spin, let me know in the comments. You can comment on Spotify. You can comment on YouTube. This episode will go out in October on the podcast, and it will drop in the first part of November on my Disembodied Screams YouTube channel. And we'll make this my first one I drop because I just did Fulci's. When this drops on YouTube, I will have done Fulci's Fulci's album Tropical Sun. It's going to be strange. You won't see Fulci's Tropical Sun is now on the podcast, but it won't really drop to YouTube till October. I really just want to get a little content in the podcast. I'm starting to drop some of these a little early. And what I'm going to do is once I get to the YouTube in November, I'm going to start dropping the ones I'm dropping now and line them up that way. So just subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow if you are listening to it on the podcast. And remember, you can comment on Spotify. You can comment on YouTube. You can like it on YouTube. I think you can also like it on Spotify. I think you can review it on Apple, so where it is. And Amazon, I'm not sure what you can do, but the podcast is on Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on Spotify in video or listening, and then will eventually be video on YouTube. That's it. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Podcast is new, idea is new, so I'm going to work out all the kinks as I go along. All right. Be good. Have a good one.